Welcome back to the Blocks Retro Repair YouTube channel. Today we're going to be working on something not quite so retro. This is a soccer shot coin pusher. I bought this many years ago, and it has fought me tooth and nail all along the way trying to get it functioning. When I got it, one of the shooter assemblies was completely missing, so I had to buy a new one of those, which luckily I managed to find a used one for a nice $100. And then one of the circuit boards was having a massive issue that I could not figure out. It ended up being a broken trace under one of the fucking chips, which was ridiculous to find. But it is somewhat functional, I believe. I honestly don't remember. It's been months since I've plugged it in. So we're going to plug this thing in, see what's wrong with it, see if we can fix it. Now, I don't recommend buying one of these machines. I don't know if this is Ice or Coastal Amusement or what brand this is. It's one of those, I'm pretty sure. Don't buy any of their machines. They're low production runs, so the used market for parts is zero. And parts, in general, if you can find them, usually you have to go to the manufacturer, and when they sell them, are absolutely insane. Like, a single piece is like $900. A new circuit board is probably like $1,200 for this machine. It is nuts. Also, I don't particularly like coin pushers, so I'm not a huge fan. To me, they're just gambling in the form of an arcade machine. Now, they're a little bit cooler when they actually give you the tokens, but of course this is a ticket machine as well, so even more useless. After looking it up, it's actually not Ice or Coastal Amusement. My points still stand about them, but this one's actually Crompton's, which this is the only Crompton's machine I've ever owned, so I'll say the same about them. They're pretty shit. You probably shouldn't buy them. Parts are ridiculously expensive, though. Actually, looking it up right now, there's a circuit board on eBay for like $60 that I might have to buy, depending on what's wrong with this. The other issue with this machine, thank goodness it's on wheels, but I believe it has a rated weight of 1,000 pounds. This is, by far, the heaviest machine I own. Okay, so that one immediately fouled. That might be the issue we're having. So I'll have to look into why that one immediately fouled, but this side appears to be working. I don't have any tokens. They're all locked inside, so I'll have to grab some of those and see if this side's fully working, or if we have another issue with this side. But we're going to have to figure out why that one fouled immediately. Now, I also have the speakers unhooked on this cabinet because when it throws an error code like that, it is blaringly loud. So let's test this out. Oh, that actually seems to work. Tickets detected. So we don't have any tickets in this machine, so it's going to keep giving me that error. That's to be expected. But at least this side appears to be at least partially functioning. We'll have to check the ticket stuff later. Let's move on to this side and see why it keeps erroring out. Right now it's not actually errored out, so I don't know why it just now randomly booted up without an error. See how long that lasts. It appears this side is working, except for the fact it's not giving me a ticket error, so it's not actually detecting that I'm dropping a coin into it. That is probably what was going on with this side. So let's pop this control area off. Oh, it just gave me a foul when I did that. So I'm going to guess we have an issue with this mechanism right here. They do give you a very small amount of room here at the top as well, so that makes up for the very small amount of room they give you at the bottom, right? One thing that does keep throwing me a foul, though, is the tilt sensor here because we're not level. So I'm just going to unplug that real quick so we stop having that giving us an error. Went ahead and put some test tickets in this machine, and as you can see, when I drop in a coin, it spits out one ticket, as it should. So we don't know if the hopper is functioning correctly yet, but at least the top half of this side is functioning. So let's try that on this side. It doesn't work. I already tried it, but I'll show you. Right here's the ticket counter. When I push the button, it feeds out tickets. It also knows when the ticket goes through, the light actuates and everything, so that part's all functional. But if I were to, say, drop a token in this side, nothing happens. It does not spit me out any tickets. As you can see, nothing. It does not even move the coin in, so it is 100% not detecting that any coins are being put into the machine. There's one really easy way to figure out what the issue is, if it's the sensor board or the actual main this thing controller board, and that's to simply swap the two controller boards. If the controller board from this side works over here, then we know that it's the sensor board, and if it doesn't work over here, we know it's this main board. So let's just do that real quick. I've gone ahead and taken the main board from this side and put it in this side, so now, if it works still, we know that it's the sensor and not the main board. And of course, it is the sensor, not the main board. Okay, so that's pretty good news. Let's take this back apart and put that board back over here and all that fun stuff. Unfortunately, on this side, I can't get it to work, so it might not actually be a sensor board issue or a main board issue. It might be either a wiring issue or a main board issue, which would really suck. We are getting 12 volts to the sensor, so it's not a voltage issue. So putting the oscilloscope on the ground and the sense wire of the output of this motherboard, as you can see, we basically have 0 voltage. If I drop a credit in, it gives a little bit of a spike, but basically nothing. But if we take the power cable from this side and plug it into this side, we suddenly have proper voltage on that sense line. If I drop in a credit, you get that nice massive spike, so it knows that a credit was dropped in. Now I've measured, they're both sides are giving this thing 24 volts, so the issue has to be on that sense wire. Doing some probing, this white wire right here is our coin sense wire, and it goes right here into the main circuit board, and as you can see, some repair work has been done here. By me. Probably well over a year ago at this point. There was some burned stuff here. I can see that I probably did some repair work too. If you look at that resistor, got a little cooked. And obviously it got replaced by me, same with that ceramic cap right there. So the question is, did I screw something up when I did that repair, or is something else damaged right there? I guess we're gonna have to pull out this board and see if we can figure out what's going on. As you can see, it looks like I did some interesting trace repair. We're gonna redo this and do this properly. I know a little bit better now than I did back then. And we're also gonna pull out the other board, make sure this is even wired right, because I have questions about that middle trace. I'm not sure how the hell there would have been a trace there originally. I have figured out the issue. I removed that burned off resistor. If you look really, really closely, you can see there's a bit of a trace underneath that R2 that should have been connected to this leg of that resistor. I never connected it because I didn't see it, because it's very tiny. So that would definitely be why it doesn't work. That is directly in line with our input for that coin, so we need to just connect that trace to our resistor as well. So let's just do some proper trace repair. Now there's a bunch of different methods of trace repair depending on what you're doing, but since this is all through-hole stuff, it should be pretty simple. I'm just going to take a piece of a capacitor leg in this case, and just connect, obviously, there to there, and have it there where that hole is, so we can connect it to the resistor as well. Now, it doesn't look pretty, but what we're going to do is we're going to apply some solder mask to make sure nothing shorts. Again, this is UV curable, so we're just going to put that all over that doesn't need soldered to, and then obviously cure it with some UV light. There we go. It doesn't look great, but it should at least function. Question is, does it detect a coin? Yes, it did! Hell yeah! Okay, that's exactly what we want to see, so it literally was just that stupid broken trace under that resistor. We are good to go. It's not going to let me do really anything else besides tell me that the ticket unit needs reloaded, but you even saw the ticket unit move, so we're good. It works. Awesome. I should probably put the motherboard back in that one so that side turns back on, and watch it not turn back on, but this is really good news. So now we just need to figure out why it's fouling out every now and then when it first turns on, and I think we might actually be getting close to finishing this machine. It's only been sitting here for 2 years. Now that we have both coin droppers working, we need to see if we can get both coin counters working, make sure they're working, make sure all the sensors associated with them are working. I believe I figured out why this one is fouling out randomly. It's to do with this sensor right here. I think I had it set too high of sensitivity. It's either that or the other tilt sensor. I'm not 100% sure where it's at, but it's somewhere around in this side. There's one for this side, one for this side. I read the entire stupid manual while I was at work today, and it was quite long, but it made me realize that there's a lot more tilt sensors than I thought. There's the one up there, but there's also one apparently on each side. There's slam sensors. There's sensors everywhere. The first thing we're going to do is the coin detect sensor. Basically, whenever a coin would fall off and hit this thing here, it would set off this sensor so that the machine knows that a coin fell over, and it would then trigger the hopper to count how many coins fell over. To test this, we just have to go to the furthest spot away, have the token here on the edge, and just slowly push it over, and we should get an LED light up whenever this token actually falls in, just like that, so we know that our sensor is working on this side. Let's try this side. This side is also functional. Now we can adjust these pots on these boards to adjust the sensitivity, but I'm not going to mess with that right now because it seems to be, well, calibrated correctly enough. Now what I need to do is test to see if the counting hoppers are working. What we're going to do is we're going to drop a coin in, then push a bunch overboard. It should trigger that to start counting, and then if it spits me out more than the one ticket that I would get for just dropping a token in, we know that it's working somewhat. I would have to look through the settings to see which setting it's set to see how many tickets it's supposed to give me, depending on how many tokens I drop in, but ultimately, if it gives me extra tickets, then I know that the counter's actually counting, so I'm going to call that good enough if that happens. Gonna drop a token in here, and then, in theory, there must be something wrong with how I'm doing this. These ticket dispensers are driving me absolutely nuts. Having to keep putting tickets in them is really, really annoying. There has to be an emulator for these that you can just plug in here. I looked it up. There is. They're incredibly expensive for no reason whatsoever. They're like 50 cents worth of components. So we're going to be making those here in the future because this is ridiculous and I really despise having to do this. Unfortunately, we have one more issue with this side. If on this side we have our hopper plugged in and we set off this sensor, it starts spinning, as it should, to count the tokens. However, on that side, it does not. That's going to spin for a while, but it'll stop here eventually. That is functioning correctly. Now, I've switched the hoppers back and forth, and both hoppers are functional, so it's definitely something with the wiring here on the left side, so I guess we gotta dig into that. Now, the wire for the hopper goes under there, and there appears to be some kind of PCB under there. So I think we're gonna pull off this little metal thing here, this metal bracket, and see if there's something wrong with that PCB under there. So I flipped the mount over so I can get to this sensor, and I think I discovered the issue. I wish all issues with this easily diagnosed. As you can see, we have the 12-volt LED, but we have a 24-volt LED here that isn't lit. However, if I touch this, yeah, we do have a bad connection. Probably a broken solder joint on that board. That should be pretty simple to fix. There we go. Now we have a nice solid 24 volts. That ain't going anywhere. Perfect. Let's put this board back in and see if our hopper works now. Okay, now, assuming everything is correct now, when I tap this thing and make that light light up, this should start spinning. So, yeah, there we go. So, it was just that simple bad connection. This side is now functional. So, I'm going to let that spin for a while, and then when it stops, we'll put this side all back together. I guess, honestly, we'll put this whole machine back together. Now it's time to finish reassembling this thing. We need to replace the lights for the soccer balls. Many years ago, I 3D printed some rings to repair ones that were really damaged. This side only had one circle that was melted out, but this side had, like, all three of them melted out, and the clips were all broken off the lights, so I had to 3D print those little light mounts. So we need to put some bulbs in them and get them to light up. Okay, yeah, that looks pretty damn sick. Awesome. There we go. I'm not sure why one is brighter. I used the exact same bulbs out of the exact same pack of bulbs, so I'm gonna ignore that for now. I think I'm gonna start here on the inside now. It looks pretty bad. Once we get this cleaned up, we can put the covers on it, and then we can stop any more further dirt from going inside it, and then we can work on the outside. And now we got the inside looking pretty good. I'm gonna try some harsher chemicals on that here in a minute, but let's slap the glass pieces back on this thing and start cleaning the outside. Yeah, that looks pretty bad, but give it a second and this will look amazing. And there we go, just from that wipe down, this thing is looking a million times better. Now we need to figure out why this marquee light isn't working, then we can close up this top and put the marquees all back in. I think maybe I stole the starter out of it, maybe the bulb's bad, I don't remember. So we should do that, and we also need to rehook up our tilt sensor, I just remembered that. As it turns out, I don't have a 30-watt starter on me, so I'm gonna have to just put the marquee back together and not have it light up for now. But I'll get that on order so I can get this to light up and look awesome. Luckily, I did have starters for the normal marquee-sized bulbs, so we have these corner lights lit up, so now we can put the corner plastics back in on top of them. At least we'll have some of the lights, just not all of the lights. Now we need to clean up this here, so I got some Goo Gone. This should remove this duct tape residue. I'm assuming it's duct tape. I've tried isopropyl alcohol before, and it really didn't help much, so hopefully this does. This stuff does tend to be a lot better on residue than isopropyl alcohol does. While it is taking an insane amount of scrubbing, it is at least coming off, so that is a good sign. It's gonna hopefully come off. Not sure how well it'll not destroy this piece of sticker here, but hopefully it doesn't do too bad to it. Really can't make it look worse, I guess. Same with these plastics, but it should be fine on them. Well, luckily it doesn't actually appear to have damaged that really much at all, so we got one more door to do, and of course the side, because they were awesome and taped it onto the side. Man, they really taped all the way around this machine. There we go. That took an insane amount of scrubbing. That took forever. We should also probably reconnect the speakers. And there we go. That looks absolutely incredible. It would look way better if that was lit up, but that is awesome. As you can see, the sound is working. I think I have the background music on both boards turned on, which I shouldn't. It says you're only supposed to have it on one, so you don't have this kind of doubling effect that I'm having going on right now. But this looks incredible. 90% sure I have the back door for this somewhere, but I'm not sure where. I've had this machine for a couple years now sitting here, not repaired, so that back door has probably gotten buried. I'll have to figure out where that went, but this looks incredible. It's awesome to have this machine finally done. Now I just need to figure out where I'm going to get 2,400 tokens from. Oh yeah, and I don't know if I showed it before, but I also do have the programmer for it. I don't have the printer, unfortunately, but that's just not really even necessary. It's just if you want to have a paper copy of the stuff that you can just read from the screens. But this is an absolute scam. These things are incredibly expensive, and all it is 4 buttons directly wired into this line. There's no PCB. There's literally nothing in here besides buttons. It is ridiculous how much they charge for this stupid controller, considering there's nothing special about it. No chips, nothing. That's why I had those unplugged! That is incredibly loud for no goddamn reason! Ultimately, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with this machine. It is massive. It weighs 924 pounds according to the manual. It is ridiculous. Now, if this was one that gave you the tokens back instead of tickets, I have a feeling I could sell this for a lot more, but unfortunately this is the ticket model, so there's a lot less places that can use it, which really sucks. I think I spent like $100 on the machine, and probably a little over $100 in parts as well, so I probably have close to $250 in this thing, which I should be able to get back out of it pretty easily, I think, but again, it's going to be a very hard sell. Of course, what sucks is if I were to part this thing out, if I could find buyers, there's probably a few $1,000s worth of parts here, but obviously I can't do that. But if you like what you saw, please leave a like and subscribe. On to the next machines.